you can see, I've started the true coloring of this area. Now, I can see from here that I'm going to add just a little bit more touch to the paint for sure. And also going to starting this area over here. But I did a time lapse because I can't show you everything. No, I'm joking. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'm going to be live for like
causing Margot to nearly lose her shit and get
the end of this episode, just to get some subs, please. One sub,
we have to do
and then I am off for the night to let all of this dry, and we'll work on it some tomorrow as well. And I'll edit that video, get it up for you guys. I'm DaMouseOfInk, let's hit it. Oh, I'll bring things up to the camera right now, and I just got my two of my brushes that I've been washing out. I'll bring everything up to the camera as I go along sometimes, but if not, I'm just ignoring it.
He knows better at this point. And when Sam is left behind to babysit him, they use Dale as a distraction to get back to church and see what's inside. They're immediately confused, as there are no pews, but a series
everything that I just got done using.
Starts filling us in on their history.
I think that's the only black. Or that's not a black, or it might be a blue or nothing. I don't think it's anything actually.
But it's not working anymore for some reason from what we've seen. Noticing a wonky board.
But this is what I was just using to create that pink and baby blue and several blues effect.
Variation. Where they toss the goat corpse. Of course, she has to see what's down there. And luckily, they have a pretty sophisticated jacket
that we got going there.
Get down there with ease. She's compelled to keep going, even after becoming overwhelmed by a foul smell. There's also some crosses jammed in the rocks on the way down. As she keeps propelling closer into the bottom, she becomes stuck for a moment, seeing a room down there, along with hearing faint groaning and chains rattling. She's had enough, shouting to be pulled up, noticing bones and other bits of gore around. Replaying the footage and hearing the odd sound, she's convinced something is down there. Understanding they're throwing the goats and whatnot, she sees whatever it is. With potential danger looming ever closer, they have a wrench thrown in the works when they find out that their van has suddenly stopped working, meaning they're not going to be getting out of here anytime soon. Things quickly take an even more sinister turn when Margot searches Jacob's room and in a locked closet discovers a computer with the internet and a camera and everything. And through emails, she learns that she was actually set up from the very beginning. Seeing a conversation between Sam and Jacob about her coming. She explains to Chris that Sam actually left to find her. He never actually left the community. He's been working for them the whole time. They discuss further in private that the emails went back over a year before Sam reached out. They also worryingly have tons of personal info on her, like her class schedule and address, again clarifying that they had actually been seeking her out from the beginning for some specific nefarious purpose. She's more than ready to get out of Dodge, but with no car, no phone, and the closest town 30 miles away, that is going to prove difficult. Chris promises that they'll head into town tomorrow to get a battery for the van, but they'll have to stick around until then. Yet later that night, the activity is taken to frightening new heights, as Margot is awoken by more odd noises, spotting the door opening on its own. She tries many times to rouse the boys, but they are completely out, not even remotely responsive, and perhaps are potentially drugged. She spies several folks out the window, staring back up. Gets up and closes the door. It busts itself back open, and she's knocked to the ground. She's then lifted into the air, hearing more growling that goes quiet. Then also distinctly hearing a person faintly whispering. Then a bit later, a black ghostly figure emerges in the doorframe for a moment before walking away. Weird. The boys awake in the morning to Margot staring out the window in a daze, drawing a circle in the condensation. Alarmingly, there's a massive blood stain on the bed and ceiling, even making out footprints up there. And it appears that the trail of blood is emanating from her.
Michael, the black and white versions from Scream.
And gives the unconvincing explanation that she's just exhausted and having an especially strong menstrual cycle. Yeah, sure, she just blasted out of the ceiling because of her menstrual cycle. That makes total sense. The guys aren't so sure he's legit either, but he promises that if she gets worse, they'll take her right to the hospital. There's nothing else to do. They set out on the very long road to town to get the van fixed. Luckily, not too far out on the road, they stumble across a mail truck, and the friendly postal worker is happy to give them a ride. He also has some disturbing information regarding the supposed Amish community they've been staying at. They, in fact, aren't Amish at all. They're kind of hiding in plain sight amongst other Amish people, but he doesn't know much more. Once they make it to the general store, as well as the internet, Chris recalls the name Asmodeus from the church. And it's just a Google search away to uncover the Balin family's. This is a demonic prince of lust, suffering, and wrath, an overlord of the 9 levels of hell, and a prince amongst demons. Pretty pedigree, dude. Then there is the tale of a small Norwegian village many years ago, whose fate sounds strikingly similar to that of the farm.
Yeah, and we might have to rewatch the entire Paranormal Activity
causing
series.
their crops and livestock to die out. Soon after, neighbor turned against neighbor in horrific acts of violence.
I
And
just
the
got to read
whole tragic outcome was blamed on the work of Asmodeus. The downtrodden villagers turned to the so-called White Witch for help. She was able to trap the demon inside of a chosen woman of God, which was able to ensnare the powerful entity. So you basically put the demon in a lady to keep it from fucking your shit up with your cord stuff. This curse of sorts traveled down the bloodline, daughter to daughter, and was able to keep Asmodeus from being unleashed upon the world. After all that, it's pretty obvious why the group wanted Margot so desperately. She's the next in the bloodline after her mother to contain the demon. When they return to the farm, we see their master plan is already in motion. Dale goes off to tend to the van, while Chris goes inside for Margot with their belongings. Yet it's strangely empty in there. All their stuff is just gone, and there's no sign of Margot. He comes across Sam in the hallway murmuring to himself, and then he pipes up that women are the most powerful creatures on Earth. This is why it's his sister's duty to hold this burden. They are the only ones strong enough to hold him back. He ominously states it's time, and urges him to not leave the house until the bell stops chiming. Chris is unfazed, setting out into the blustery night, and makes his way to the church. Jacob is waiting there with a gun, and tries to help him understand the necessity of their plan. If they don't transfer the demon into Margot, it will be set loose, and is able to jump from person to person, and will kill us all. The gun goes off, and Chris tackles him. Jacob, ironically, chokes him with a nearby Bible, but Chris clocks him good, sending him tumbling down the hole. There is nowhere else to go but down, hearing Margot's pain screeches echoing below. And then he hears that same faint hissing and groaning. He finds an older lady with candles all around her, praying over Margot. He just straight up throws the woman off of her, and in the process knocks out the quite important salt barrier. The lady attempts to put it back in place, but once it's broken, you're out of luck, pal. This is consistently used to contain spirits or demons, but when the line is broken, you're usually screwed. The lady complains and he doesn't know what he's doing, and Margot shoots awake, then spotting a withered creature sitting on what looks like a bone throne. Well, it looks like Mommy is still around after all. Based on what we know about Asmodeus, it seems like Sarah's vessel was able to keep the demon at bay for some time, but ultimately they physically start changing into the demon. Hence why things have been getting bad in the village. Hence the necessity again for Margot to step in as the new vessel, so they can stop the pestilence from spreading and begin their cycle anew. Sarah takes out the lady quite horrifically, and the pair take off, hearing her roaring behind them. Unfortunately, there is no way back up. That is until our ever-stalwart Dale arrives, confused about what's going on. Chris helps Margot go up first, still freaking over whatever that thing was. As she slowly goes up, we hear metal clinking, and the creature is free. He flings on the vest, and Sarah crawls after him, Chris just barely getting out of there in the nick of time. They hear the pulley going again, knowing the creature is on its way out of the hole after them. They struggle to see out in the blizzard, catching a glimpse of the creature as it gets Dale, including a nice slow-mo shot where his face is ripped right off. Woo-wee. That's why you pay extra for those cameras, to get that 120 frame slow-mo. It's beautiful. They hoof it to the barn with the creature on their trail, banging on the barricaded door and roaring. They sneak upstairs as the creature makes it inside and shut off the camera light for a moment. Sarah appears and smacks Chris good, causing him to drop the camera. Margot grabs a hook and gets her mom's attention. "Look at me," she cries, asking if she remembers her. She starts getting closer, assuring her, "It's me, your daughter. I'm here now, Mom. It was just a ruse," and she jams the hook in Sarah's neck. She's definitely not happy about it and tries to drag her down a hole. Margot is able to kick her off, and Sarah plummets onto the thrasher that she almost fell onto a few days earlier. Again, watch out for holes around this place. They get to their feet and make it to the van. But yeah, guess what? No keys. They're on Dale's destroyed corpse. Once they fetch them, the church bell starts ringing once more. It starts getting more rapid, tolling extremely quickly. This seems to indicate that the feared Asmodeus-fueled madness is at hand. The entire place engulfed in flame. Another person pops up yowling with his eyes gouged out, and another dude is just casually strolling by completely on fire. Well, go jump in the snow or something. Back to the van. It predictably won't turn over, despite Chris's chanting of, "Come on, baby." Great citizens attack, smashing the windows, and the engine finally turns runs over. They crash out of the barn and plow right into a dude firing at them. Driving off into the night, Margot lets out a blood-curdling scream, which is probably a reference to the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yes, they do escape, but the evil is far from done for, as we see. Sometime later, the cop comes across the grisly aftermath. The action is long over now, with bodies littering the snow. He's lured to the barn, hearing what sounds like a baby crying, and comes to Samuel, seeing he's the one making the weird noises, and now understanding that he's the demon's newest vassal. As Jacob laid out, if they don't complete the ritual, then Asmodeus can jump from body to body at will. So kind of thanks to Chris and Margot, the evil has been set free upon the world. Sam makes the officer turn the gun on himself as another cop shows up and he does the exact same thing to him. He jacks his car and sets out on the snowy road. Knowing the evil is set loose, there's no containing this thing. So things are pretty open-ended if the filmmakers choose to do a follow-up. Is Sam going to hunt down Margot since he knows that she's the only one that can stop him? Or conversely, is she going to hunt him down to put an end to the evil for good? Either way, it looks like the world at large is probably pretty F, which really, again, is thanks to Margot and Chris. If you had just done the ritual, none of this would have happened. Was it worth saving one lady and dooming countless others? I'm not so sure. One other thing I was kind of confused about after watching this is it seems like there's two things going on here. What's technically a spirit, as well as Sarah chained up in the hole, terrorizing Margot. From what we see, it appears that the spirit is actually Asmodeus outside of his vessel and is trying to prevent the transferring ritual from occurring. That's why it attacked her and the blood and all that. He knew if he could destroy the vessel, he could finally be free. But also, thanks to the kids, it happened anyway. So, win-win. Well, that brings us to the conclusion of this explained video on Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. While it is a bit disappointing to really continue on with the series story setup so far, I get why they went the direction they did. And hey, if there's a sequel, that will definitely feel very different than what we've seen over and over again with the series. Guess we'll have to see how this one does. I don't know how they determine that, how many people watched it on Paramount Plus, because it's not in theaters. It's not. And don't forget, before we go, you can send your requests for any movies or TV shows you'd like to see me explain by sending them my way on any of my social media accounts at FoundFlix. What did you think of Paranormal Activity Next of Kin? What would you like to see in a sequel? The return of Toby, perhaps?
Hell yeah!
Katie would be good, right?
Bring up Toby!
Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks for watching FoundFlix. See you next time.
What was it? It doesn't.
Kobe.
And you want to turn around and give Babe the special subscriptions. VHS Halloween. Alright, I got another VHS to watch.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to FoundFlix and happy Halloween! On this Ending Explained, we're looking at VHS Halloween, where a collection of Halloween-themed videotapes unleashes a series of twisted, blood-soaked tales, turning trick-or-treat into a struggle for survival. The VHS anthology series is now at its 8th entry and impressively shows no signs of slowing down. Ever since the series was rebooted in a way with VHS 94, the producers have been cranking out a new entry every year. And again, for the most part, each of the entries stay consistently solid. They've moved into specific themes before, like sci-fi for beyond, and a Halloween theme is, of course, perfect for them to tackle. This time out, the filmmakers behind the segments aren't the biggest, but ultimately it makes no difference. VHS Halloween is another absolute blast of the series, and I really did enjoy all of the segments, though there are definitely some questions left in a few. So let's check out VHS Halloween, breaking down each segment's twists and turns and explaining all of their endings. Our wraparound features the mysterious Octagon Company holding taste trials for a new soda, which seems to be comprised of spirits. A machine extracts some white goo and fills it right into the can, called Diet Phantasma. A guy, Blaine, has a team of people all observing their latest subject. Considering they are number 37, there must have been many previous failed attempts. Blaine gives them a limp hello. Try out the new volunteering in UK. Thanks, the guy starts, and Blaine interrupts him, asking, "You like soda?" 37 is curious about the wires attached to him, but he's assured it's just to get some basic reading. So open a can and enjoy the spectacular taste of Diet Phantasma. 37 cracks the can and takes a gulp. It tastes like, he starts, and something overwhelms him. The machines all go haywire, and he hacks up black goo, which then streams from his eyes. Tentacles emerge from the can and forces his head onto it to drink the rest. Blaine is only mildly annoyed at this outcome, shouting to get the place cleaned up. There's an odd disembodied giggling heard, and 37 is gone. Soon after, a senior guy cleans the place up with some blue gas. Well, still didn't get that formula quite right. And our first full tape, a pair of gal pals, Kaylee and Lacey, We're having one final Halloween hurrah before Kaylee is off to college. Or as Lacey puts it, before they become lame, tax-paying adults. Yep, you graduate high school and it's pretty much all over. They're interrupted by some random kids that pound on the window. One sneers, they're too old to trick or treat. Mommy's gonna get you, they chant. Lacey shoots back, she gonna make me one of her milk-sucking babies like you? One calls her a bitch face and they run off. The girl stops, that mommy's not real. Also noticing a strange claw-like handprint left on the window. Weird. Someone like a kid's hands on them. What better way to have a proper sing-off than dressing up like babies, smoking some reefer, and causing mischief all over town, including stealing candy from kids, or emptying the entire bowl at one house despite it saying one piece only. Naughty, naughty. Passing through the crowd. There's a girl that went missing last year, just 18 years old. Our girls have heard about this, realizing this is the same neighborhood where it happened. But they aren't exactly sympathetic, scoffing that she was asking for it in her slutty cheerleading costume. They come across another house that is all lit up, the lights all pulsating in a pattern. Lacey is convinced they've got king-size candy bars there and runs right to it. They ring the doorbell and she dons a baby voice saying, "Click a tweet." There's no answer, but the lights keep ominously pulsing. Disappointed, they are about to leave, and suddenly the door is wide open, appearing pitch black inside. An arm extends an old basket, tipping them in with a sing-songy coo-coo-coo-coo. It disappears, and Lacey is hyped. This shit is scary, and she wants every part of it. Kaylee is less enthused. She doesn't want to end up like that cheerleader. Lacey is unbothered and waltzes right in, leaving her friend no choice but to follow after. They look around the place, noticing weird stuff on display, and a pungent corpse-like smell. Even weirder, there's a substance on the floor which sure looks like milk. There's a definite theme going on here with a strange baby slant to everything. Kaylee's had enough, and they are stopped by a creepy lady there in the doorway. She extends the basket, and Lacey is all, "Told you, it's a haunted house." They politely ask her mood, and when going for some candy, the bowl gets knocked over. And there's not just sweet treats that spill out, but also a little fetus guy. The door slams closed, and the lights go out, causing the girls to freaking flee. Lacey still thinks it's all a joke or something, but Katie knows that fetus looked alive. They spin around to a cage with a bed inside. Someone definitely sleeps there. And there's a little sign reading, "Kids spoiled here." A baby monitor starts squelching, and Lacey laughs. Man, this lady has got a budget. Looking through the door, they find a path of some large footprints left in milk that disappear into a door. Lacey is still having fun somehow, and Kaylee convinces her to leave. They do find their stuff, but instead of the door there's just a boarded up window. They rewind the footage and see that indeed moments ago there was a door, but now it's just a wall. The house can change its shape, it seems. Kaylee starts freaking out, and that voice is back. "Gucci, Gucci, goo," she sings. She appears blooming at the corner, cackling with glowing eyes. She vanishes, and they move on to another room, which is set up for a baby birth. There's balloons and a sign reading, "It's a girl." On the mantle, there's an AI picture of the mommy looking sad, as they say. Not sure what that expression is, but the AI is garbage. There's a note scrawled on the wall. "He made me mommy." There's some clanging, and something runs by. A big fat baby guy there peeks around the corner. They need to get past him, but he's blocking the way. They try to go a different direction, and the baby is still there munching on the wall. Mommy is heard from the other direction, along with some soft
Helicopter,
helicopter. That way, and the baby before running off. The next room has several empty bottles lying around, along with a strange, elaborate device for pumping milk with spots for much more than 2 breasts. They find a girl strapped in a chair that is being force-fed mommy's milk, and it's actually choking her. Lacey wants to help, but they cannot do much now, and simply move her out of the way. They open the next door to mommy there waiting, exposing her 6 breasts. Well, there you go. The girls run upstairs, and they are still stuck. There is no way out. A hand reaches out, and they see a girl in a cheerleader costume, which must be the same that went missing last year. They get closer, and she's all big-eyed and full-cheeked. They ask her some questions like, "Is there a way out of here? And did that woman do this to her?" "Mama?" the girl squeaks, and they don't know how to respond. And she starts loudly shrieking. Knowing noise will bring Mama, they see her down in the hallway. But she instead enters into a room. And the next one, the walls are covered in shit, and they move a table out of the way. Lacey reflects on those kids earlier and what they said about Mama, and now they
Helicopter.
Kaylee still doesn't believe but now Lacey is convinced. Mama comes back every
I'm not doing it anymore. This time it's probably going to stay black and white.
There's something on the table. It's a photo of a hanged woman woman, now understanding
On
she's
this.
pregnant at the time of her
But the
death.
end
On the
is
back,
getting
letters
painted.
appear. I
Behind
died
the
to
ears
be
getting
free.
painted,
Noises
just
draw
this
them to
side
a
is
nearby
remaining
news
black and
hanging
white.
from the ceiling.
But this
There's
is
some
getting
thuds, and Mama's
done
back.
colors.
She goes for Lacey, getting her in a bone-crunching bear hug. Kaylee gets her free, and they wander through the house, encountering the big baby again.
Which
Lacey
is somewhat,
cannot
I
go
might
on
put
anymore,
these, I might
sobbing in
take
pain.
this
Mama
out.
starts
Actually,
singing a
right
lullaby
now,
that actually forces Lacey to
I
fall
might
asleep
take this
under her
whole
spell.
thing.
Mama walks up
So I
and
don't
bestows
get
her a
no pain on
bit.
it.
She turns the camera
Yeah,
back
because
on to a horrifying sight. It blinks
gotta be
off and
extra
back just
careful.
in time to see her legs getting dragged away. Kaylee chases after, the white now on the fritz. Following a trail of milk leads her back downstairs.
I got
And then
the
we
paper
got into
stick
the
down
basement.
there.
There's a concerning
Not the paper
sign
stick,
awaiting
not
her,
paper stick. I
welcoming
have two
baby
of them.
Lacey and Kaylee to the family. She comes to a crib with another fetus inside,
Yeah,
and Mama
that's
sings
yummy.
her catchphrase. She peels back a sheet, and the whole family is gathered there. Kaylee goes
That's
to
exactly
Lacey and
such a
finds her
big
friend
thing.
all ready to
That's
form.
pretty
Mama
cool.
sings her lullaby,
I
and
think that's
Kaylee is
one.
affected now. She yawns and takes a seat, curling right up to Mama's side. I'll nurse you until your breath, Mama sings. I'm gonna make sure
I just
you
poured out
never
acrylic
die.
in the
She
washes.
concludes with a dry laugh. Let's just
And
kind of
hi,
piece together what
Hex
it
517.
seems like Mama's
Thank you
deal
when
is
you
from
did
what we
comment
get.
and
She
comment.
was pregnant at the time of her death, and whatever was going on was
These are
not
the
good. The whole
ones I
dying
just
to be
poured out. I
free
just
thing,
ran through all
most
the
likely
pink.
her husband was abusive or something. It's because of how she
And I'm
died
just
that
doing,
appeared
like I
with that
said, this
upset
side
and
is some
continues
color.
seeking out the child she lost from beyond
That
the
side
grave.
is
It
being
seems that she
left. Now I'm
manifests
gonna
at
finish right
Halloween
here with
she's
some
here to
colors.
meet with someone new. It breaks the rules to become part of her ever-standing brood. We're gonna check back in on the Diet Phantasma gang for the next trial. Blaine is on the
That
phone
may,
and
over here may not
guarantees
happen
to get the
tonight.
drink
It may
on the shelf
happen
by Halloween.
tomorrow.
He lights up
It
a
may
smoke,
not happen
ready for the
tonight.
next test. The guy is
All the
concerned. Is the
clouds.
drink nuclear or toxic or something? Blaine assures him it's nothing of the sort. Just full of evil spirits. Nothing to worry about. He opens it up and it flames upon him, destroying him instantly. Blaine sneers. I told you to turn down the formula. They did. Then what's going on here? 38 is still going nuts, and 39 frantically tries to escape. 38 reaches out to her, and she did gloves both of his hands. Another can moves on its own. Its tab shoots off and viciously slashes his throat. There's more evil giggles heard, and Blaine shouts in annoyance for them to just die already. Our next hit comes to us from Paco Plaza, co-creator of the Rex series, so he definitely knows a thing or two about found footage. A camera snaps, showing us an assortment of dead bodies, all missing their eyeballs, and there's some odd writing upside down on a wall. A recording plays, hearing about getting ready for a party and going to that place I told you about. Finally, there's an old rotary phone, a black phone. We don't know what went down there, but pick up in the aftermath with the lone survivor Enric, who appears haunted. The cops ask him for details. Why the eyes? And why is he blaming himself for something he couldn't have possibly done? They set the scene of that night. Enric's feeling that he left a Halloween party, as per another girl, Vicky's suggestion. They ask, when did things start going wrong? Enric revealing it was when they got to that room, the same where the bodies were found. Well, what happened exactly? But Enric can't quite remember. Short on answer, the police bring a team along with Enric out to the scene of the crime. He tells them that they all followed Vicky. She knew where to go. There's a tunnel that they used to get inside, and they follow that path now, trying to reconstruct exactly what the kids did. We flash back to Vicky guiding the kids down through the tunnel, shooting on her phone. She promises it's gotta be more. Someone asked if they're gonna be on the news tomorrow. Oh no, she laughs. Well, yeah, you are. You're all dead. She fills us in that they're visiting a special place on this special night, Halloween, where someone peculiar used to live. Honor shows off his costume, a bald firefighter, and Vicky is not impressed. Now the cops follow this same route into the building. It was a woman, Roberta Marconi, that once lived here. She was a famous medium that organized many seances. Tonight, on Halloween, the bridge is laid out between our worlds. The living can walk amongst the dead, and vice versa. Honor isn't buying it, joking that he was falling asleep. And Vicky doubles down she's not joking. Enric now reaches the door and starts shaking his head. Then Vicky arrives there, everyone oohing. Enric falls to the ground and attempts to run away. He's so scared. The kids are getting restless. How much longer? Vicky informs them that she found this place one night when working, and a coworker showed her. They got scared and left, and decided it would be a good place to show her pals. She smirks, "You're gonna freak." They enter another chamber, and she welcomes them here, also noticing that it appears inverted. There's a black phone in the middle of the room, and Vicky stops someone from touching it. That wasn't here last time, she claims. Now the cops are back in the same room, and they ask where he and Vicky were standing exactly. On the recording, the group debate if someone should pick up the phone. Enric teases doing so, and now the cops produce the same phone, putting it back in its place, freaking him out once more. They said the medium used the phone to talk to the dead. They then translate the upside-down writing on the wall. As above, so below it reads, and Enric repeats this phrase a few times. The phone then starts ringing despite it not being connected to anything. Now the cops are dubious, pointing out the phone is a piece of junk. Even if it was connected, it's broken. They accuse that Audric isn't remembering things correctly. It's his mind playing tricks. Before, the phone keeps ringing, and Vicky still doesn't know what it's about. Regardless, she urges not to answer it. Audric goes for it anyway with a smirk and takes the receiver. Hola! He listens, but we don't hear anything. He then starts violently convulsing and looking upwards. Things get more intense. Everyone's screaming. Someone goes to leave, and the door slams closed. Audric starts gurgling, and the camera glitches off. Audric does the same thing now, and after repeating the phrase, the phone begins to ring right on cue. A lady cop goes for it, and Audric tells her to stop. They hold him back, and she lifts the phone, everyone going silent. Audric starts convulsing again, and he vanishes from the room. She drops the receiver, and it starts floating upwards towards the ceiling. Audric reappears, puking up an eyeball, followed by many, many more. One lady is lifted upwards, followed by another. It seems Audric's doing, lifting his hands, sending everyone else flailing towards the ceiling. Once everyone is trapped up there, Audric emerges from another door, now inverted, as above, so below. He goes to the first cop and plucks out their eyeballs, gobbling them up. He makes his way one by one through each, gently humming along the way. Gravity then reverses, and the camera person falls to the ground painfully. Moments later, the rest follow suit. So what happened here exactly? Well, we know that room was used by Roberta for many seances, and must be the room would have that energy drawn to it already. Since Vicky said the phone wasn't there when she was there before, that's the difference. It must be one of those only on Halloween night does it appear kind of things, as Vicky said herself about the veil between our world and the other. Then the phone itself works exactly like the black phone from that movie, allowing someone to communicate to the other side. And it only rings after repeating as above, so below. This opens the door, and answering the phone allows something to travel through to our side. For Audric, it was some kind of eyeball-eating demon that possessed him. Learn your lesson, stay away from black phones, no matter what. Our phantasm trials continue, and we get the picture by now. Subject 40 pops the tab, groaning it smells bad, but she takes a slurp and is pleased with the taste. Since she didn't die immediately, Blaine perks up, asking how she feels. 40 is okay, and she's asked to finish the can. She can't even start, hearing bones snap. Her eyes glaze over white, and the lights go crazy. She vomits that black goo flaming all over the table. She approaches the glass and appears to follow his movements. He's worried about her breaking through, but everything is reinforced not to worry. There's a loud whirring heard, and a machine is activated, sucking a smoky substance from her body, which must be the spirit. The lady hits a button, and it's all pulled into a tube. Close, Blaine smiles. He can't believe they've actually done it. Now to get the real intention here is to infect people with the phantasm so they can effectively control them. He marks to change up the formula again. Well, what about 40? They take care of her by torching her into oblivion. Cannot leave any evidence behind. Fun size from Casper Kelly, who is behind the Bananas Yule Log movies, as well as Too Many Cooks and the Cheddar Goblin from Andy, has brought what is definitely my favorite of the shorts this time. A group of kids are debating what to do after a party. Haley proclaims that she wants some candy, and they point out that they are too old for trick-or-treating. A girl, Lauren, goes up with cameras, know that she won't give up. So just give in. They take to the streets and ring their first doorbell. The man bristles that they're a little old for this. Josh brings up that he and Lauren just got engaged and show off the ring, getting some limp congrats from the couple. He can easily ID most of their costumes, but what's the deal with the cameras? Lauren and Josh excitedly explain that they're found footage horror movie camera operators. You know how you always wonder how they don't drop the cameras in those movies? Well, there you have it. The wife begrudgingly hands over some candy, and they are disappointed. Sour candy is lame, just dropping it on the ground. Austin groans that corporations have taken out all the variety in candy. It's all the same now. They decide to do a lap around the block to see who has the best candy. Haley hangs back with Lauren and is curious, when is she gonna tell him? Apparently, she doesn't actually want to marry Josh, but hasn't got the nerve to tell him yet. Haley encourages you gotta do it quick or it's only gonna make things worse. She doesn't want to hurt his feelings, and Haley tells her to put herself first instead. He runs up clueless and excited. Come on, fiancé, he exclaims. Poor bastard. They come to another house, but they both left out, and a note saying one per person. You better only take one, we already learned that. They check out the candy and are baffled. None of it is the usual stuff. In fact, they haven't heard of any of it, with weird names like flips and snips, and some not even in English. Austin opens one up and remarks that it looks like a dong. Well, a lot of candy bars look like that, but no, this one has a tip, and it's veiny. They assume it must be some kind of factory mistake, and he offers if anyone wants the first bite. No one takes it, leaving it to him. He bites off the top, and of course it's cream-filled, grossing everyone out. It dribbles down his chin, and Austin likes it, saying it's got lots of layers. They do an online search and can't find anything about the candy. Maybe it's new, they consider. Austin doesn't know, but he is taking some more. Whoops. Lauren stops him. Just one per person, bud. He doesn't care and digs into the bowl. A red hand reaches out from within and grabs him. The kids are impressed and can't figure out how the trick is being done. Austin gets tuggy and deeper. They try to hold him back, and he gets sucked right into the candy bowl. His friend gets sucked in right right after, and the girls run. They take a moment to try and comprehend what just even happened. They call 911, and when turning back to the house, the bowl is flying right at her. They find themselves now in a weird warehouse. Someone slips by in shadow, and there's a loud thud from the other side. Up ahead is the same candy bowl bathed in a holy light. He considers maybe it's the way out, and reaches into the bowl, pulling out the same one per person sign. Should've listened. A stream of caramel begins drizzling down upon him, and Austin soon figures out what it is. Another light clinks on, revealing some weirdo guy in a suit with a big red head. In a high-pitched voice, they squeak, "Fun size!" They book it, noticing lots of blood all over the walls. Fun size appears again, saying, "Hello there," to more screams. What the fuck is that, they wonder. No one knows, but figures that it is wise to get away from it. They find a door marked exit, but it's locked. There's a key nearby. They rummage through the boxes and stuff all around, and Austin does find a key. Before he can try anything, Fun size is back and tosses him away. La-di-da, they sing and skip off. They follow some loud noises to a conveyor belt. Austin is already on its shackle to the surface. Lauren fiddles with some levers, which only add to the ceremony. The first lights a neon sign reading "Fun size." Another causes confetti to shoot out, and carnival music kicks on. And finally, the third turns on a sign, "Yummy!" Austin's hand is still clutching the key, and they don't get to it in time before he gets rolled into the machine. Through monitors, we see him getting chopped into pieces, and the group can only watch on in horror. His hand is still clutching the key when it comes out on the other side. Fun size returns, and they lop out his hand. No matter for him. "Oh no!" he cries, and Candy starts firing out of the hole. The girls scream to chop off his head, and his hand regrows. Yeah, this guy's certainly not human. They miss the key again as it moves to the next stage, getting covered in caramel, including his balls, each being turned into a piece of candy. Now you're saying where all that candy came from in the bowl, people's parts. Gross. The pieces come out on the other side packaged, and they dig through to find the hand. Lauren finds it. "Good job, fiancé," Josh encourages. A little helper guy then pops out and dumps out a bucket of candy on the floor, tripping Haley. A force sucks her away, followed by insane laughter. Josh tells her she's gone, but Lauren won't give up. They find her with a tube stuck up her shorts. It gets pressurized, sending a high-powered stream of candy up her boo hole, which tears her face clean off. Haley, somehow still alive, stumbles right out of the conveyor belt and accepts her fate. The machine gets to work, then processing her parts. The remaining pair make it to the locked door and try the key. It does work, but there's no relief finding a brick wall on the other side, along with the "only take one" sign. Josh shrieks that they didn't take more than one, they already killed the guy that did. Lauren calms him down, hoping that they're going to get through this. They find an air vent, which they pry open. Josh goes first, looking back, saying this is going to be one hell of a story for the kids. Lauren looks down the floor. It's another conveyor belt. He comes to life, and Lauren tries to go back, but Fun size is blocking the vent. "Fiancé!" Josh cries. "Sorry, we didn't get our fairy tale way." Unless, and he does her vows right now. It comes down to her saying, "I do. I do," she stammers. "Not." Josh is shocked and immediately is chopped to bits. She kicks the vent off, and now is somehow outside the building. She screams for help. The ring is stuck on her finger, and she struggles to remove it. Fun size appears and crushes her head. Sometime later, the cycle begins anew. The mom and her kids are at that same house. The girl notes the candy looks weird. The boy finds something metal in his, a ring on a finger, obviously Lauren's. He's curious. "I took two. Is that bad?" Yeah. The devil bowl springs to life and launches at them. More victims for Fun size. The phantasm trials continue, and the kid finds it tasty. Blaine assumes they must not have put enough extract in it, so he barks to get him another, but up the dosage. A guy enters carrying the can with a pair of tongs. He cracks it open, and there's just an explosion of blood. So yeah, maybe to watch that time. The next segment, Kid Free, is based on an actual thing that Blockbuster did back in the 90s to help with kids that went missing. And if you are squeamish about kids in peril or getting harmed, I might suggest skipping a segment. Me, Tim runs a small store that does kid friends for several kids in their community. It's especially important in this town as there is a recent rash of kids going missing and later found dead. One mom is understandably worried about letting her kid go out for Halloween at all, despite her going that she's not going to get kidnapped. Mom asks to make a box of tape so she can get it before she goes trick-or-treat. Tim lets him down as he doesn't work evening or weekends. He's home for family dinner every night, but she insists to see what he can do. He takes him to the back where they meet Miles, who handles the tape decks, and then there's Bruce that does the dubbing. Tim asks him to prioritize Lindsay's tape, and Bruce is happy to oblige, flashing a friendly smile. Tim says that Bruce isn't used to having people back here, and even Miles coming and going is a bother to him. Sure likes his privacy. Lindsay notices a particular set of tapes, and based on the names, realizes that they are all of the kids that were abducted. A news report confirms the rash of recent killings, and there's no signs of a pattern. Any hope of stopping the crime wave has proved elusive. It's a puzzle without a solution. Tim seems good-natured enough, goofing around the store and signaling out one piece of decor he likes in particular. His coworker Annie poses behind a Grim Reaper cutout. Smile, he tells her, this is going to be in next year's commercial. He takes the prop home, and in the car, the radio has news on a more recent victim. The body of a 14-year-old was just found. The 8th victim this week alone. Woo, pretty serious. At home, Tim continues filming everything, despite his wife telling him to stop. He insists that it's for the kids' safety. He poses the question to them, do they feel safer with the camera on? And neither really seems to care one way or another. There is still a closely monitored sort of trick-or-treating being done in a local park. Tim wants to take the girls, just for an hour. And hey, if he gets a bad guy on camera, well, he'd be a local hero. More so than I already am, he boasts. Tim continues taping the sanctioned Halloween meetup in the park. One mom admits that she wasn't even sure about coming in the first place. And for some reason, Tim doesn't understand the concern, wondering what's with everybody. Yeah, a bunch of kids are getting killed, you'd think you would care. She reveals that another kid was just taken, and Tim is dubious, thinking it's just probably a prank. Again, not sure what his block there is with all that. The cop confirms the missing Olivia, and she actually just came into the store for her kid print. They request for him to send her tape along to get on the news as soon as possible. There's a brief flash of her crying and injured. He returns to the store finding it TP. Tim grumbles, that's good, that's fun, and unlocks the gate. There's another flash of a kid, and then him scared. He makes his way to the back room, hearing a symphony of screams, and then he comes to a disturbing sight. On HTV is another victim, and all are sobbing in distress. He's stumbled upon the killer here. There's a quick glimpse of a kid getting their skin sliced off, and the killer takes their face for himself. The tape cuts, and Olivia appears shouting, "You creep, I hope you die." He then hears live muffled sobs in the distance. "Please stop," they beg. There's more with Olivia pleading to just let me go home. Someone approaches in a hood wearing a kid's face. Tim bumps into Bruce, surprised to see him working a weekend shift. As he said, he doesn't come in on the weekend. It's Bruce on the tape interviewing the kids. "I'm your friend," he tries to convince them. He says it's time to have a little fun, and the kid does not want that. Then he's with another kid in the park. He lures him to the store with promises of games and all kinds of cool stuff. Hey, his boss isn't there now. Why not come on by? The kid shows up on the next tape, spitting to his captor that he's a freak. And then with him flaying off pieces of flesh with a light giggle. Bruce goes at Tim, smashing his knee with a hammer. He tells him his own mask and takes his leave. That blonde boy is there and tries feebly to put his face back on, but there's no hope there. Bruce then shows up and tosses Olivia into the room. The kids are immediately convinced that Tim is in on it, and together they murder him in cold blood. Well, sucks for him. We then see Bruce on screen doing his own interview. "Tell me your name," he says. "Little Brucey Denton. He's gonna be a cowboy for Halloween." His mom and dad are letting him go trick-or-treating for the first time. Now, they don't make it clear what Bruce's motivation is exactly, but it definitely seems that something happened to him as a kid that traumatized him completely. The kids try to escape, but Bruce descends upon them. There's lots of screams and loud noises heard, making us understand that these kids did not make it out. With Tim's death, he takes the blame for all the killings. His coworker is not surprised to hear this. Tim was always a little weird, she says. They try to get his family to speak, but they refuse to comment. Then they interview Bruce. He's worked here for many years. Did he know something was amiss? All he knows is that it's a damn shame. There were so many kids coming through here all the time. He watched video after video of those sweet, innocent faces. It harkens back to his childhood and how vulnerable children are. Regardless, he's committed to continuing the kid print service. For the children, A final alarming shot dated November shows another girl, meaning after all that, he has been able to continue his disturbing work. In this overlap, it's time for another round of victims, and Blaine can't even be bothered to pay attention anymore. The Lady Express is concerned. There's so many subjects at once will strain the equipment. They all open the can, and the camera bursts into flames, hearing snarling and growling. It's total mayhem, as expected, as people get sucked into the can, another gets their mouth torn open, one guy gouges another's eyes out. The equipment is overloaded as warned and explodes. They hit the big red button, and the machine starts sucking all the spirits into the vent. Did we get them all? Well, there's still one live reading, he's told. They see there's only a little girl left with milky eyes. "Hi, 47, did you drink the soda?" he asks. "Oh," she replies in a deep voice and asks for more, please. Blaine orders to come closer, and she does as instructed. "What's your favorite soda?" they ask. "Diet Fantasma," she replies. Blaine cannot contain his delight. "Perfect," he smirks. There's more mayhem with the others, and the machines all go nuts. They are overloaded and cannot extract anymore. Blaine is satisfied regardless, lighting up a cigarette. "Package and ship the soda," he proclaims. Lily argues it's not ready. "Package and ship that shit," he growls. Our last tape begins with a father and his young son Zach bonding over putting together a fun little home haunted house. They put a lot of work into it, showing off a pretty good looking entrance facade. They get into their outfits, and Mom bursts in calling him so cute. Zach corrects, it's not cute, it's scary. They get the final touches into place, and the house opens for business. We then jump to years later, and Zach is now a standard-issue teenager, no longer interested in his dad's goofy haunts. Keith tries to get him excited, but Zach is sick of it. It's not our thing, it's your thing. He's tired of being a clown. All Pops wants is one last time together, but Zach refuses. Mom overhears and offers an assist. She knows that he's just at that age. Her mom magic does the trick as Zach begrudgingly rejoins his dad. I knew you'd come around, Keith beams, and Zach scowls. Mom is just better blackmail than he is. They visit an antique store to find some more treasures, and the owner Janet reminds him no filming. He feigns forgetting, and then turns it right back on, whispering to himself he didn't forget and he's not sorry. This guy's kind of it. He makes his way to the back, finding the area blocked off. That won't stop him, and he is intrigued by a mystery trunk there. Inside, there's a Halloween horror record, which he puts right in his bag. Stealing and breaking rules. Well, we already know that won't end well. They remove a tarp, revealing an even larger entryway. He then shows off the record, and Zach can't believe he stole it. He defends, he left some money on the counter. It's not like she'll miss it either. Zach knows the history of the record, and apparently is recordings of dead kids. His dad brushes it off, as only adding to the frights. This year is going to be the scariest ever. He reads off the blurb on the back that makes it clear, if you play this record, you unleash the riders of hell with a symphony of the damned. This only pumps up Keith even more. On the night of the opening, a line of excited strangers are waiting outside, and Dad hands out pamphlets. He singles out one little girl, calling her a brave one. An older man behind her tells her not to worry, everything always looks straight. His wife then wonders why they didn't come in the first place. And he says the whole point is to tell him that it sucks. Sounds like a fun guy. And this ponytail dude is none other than Rick Baker, one of the best special effects makeup artists of all time. Dude's a legend. So it's funny to have him here to rip on the haunts. Mom and Dad officially welcome everyone, and the crowd wanders inside. The first room, they say, is your place of eternal rest. Gather to bear horrible witness, Keith narrates. Rich fumes to get on with it, man. They put the cursed record on an old gramophone. Soon the camera starts to glitch. The lights blink, and Keith calls out to the spirits. Let our symphony open wide the gates of hell. Objects start clattering around the room, and stuff falls off the shelves. There's loud, maniacal laughter, and Zach can't believe what his dad has done. The record straight up bursts into flames, and then things go silent. Mom is understandably concerned, but Rich moves on, still confident it's not real. His disappointment continues into the next room, scoffing this is supposed to be a haunted house, not a mini golf course. A little ghost guy pops up, and Rich declares, that's shit. The door slams closed behind him, and it will not budge. Rich keeps complaining, and another ghostly sheet rises. Keith says that is not his, and it covers Rich entirely. It twists around in tightening, which shoots out blood to everyone's horror. More ghosts come to life, flying around the room and attacking everyone. The group moves on to a crypt, which they notice is now made of real stone. Zombies emerge from the coffin, and B-Boy gets gruesomely torn apart. They all push at the door, and the zombies lumber closer. Another girl gets her jaw torn right off. They are able to get to the other side, and Keith tells Zach to stop recording. He disagrees. He needs to keep filming to prove what happened, otherwise everyone will blame him. Keith has no idea what's going on, but Zach has figured things out. The record has brought their haunt to life. The cheerleader runs off down the corridor to another room, and Keith chases after. It's dark as heck in there, hearing her weakly begging for help. They discover it's a torture chamber, and she gets sizzled in an electric chair. The executioner goes at Rich's wife and cleaves her head right in half. Zach grabs her sister back, and Mom takes care of the executioner, lopping his head off. Dang, go Mom! They shut off the chair, and the lights return to normal. They rip open another door leading to an enchanted forest-looking kind of area. Keith sighs. It's the last room. Zach is panicked. He can't go in there. She's in there. Dad promises to get him out of here, and then they notice the girl is gone. She saunters right inside the little hut, and the door closes behind her. There's cackling heard from within. They kick the door open, and a witch is munching down on her fingies. They slash at her, and she disappears in green smoke. The girl gets sizzled in a vat of acid. She claws at Zach. Mom pulls her back and dumps her head into the cauldron. They get to their feet and make it outside. The witch smacks right into Zach and takes his camera, giving us a broom POV. Probably my favorite shot in the whole movie. She goes on an absolute rampage through the streets, ripping a kid's head off and impales another through with her broom, and then rips his guts out. She flies high into the sky and drops him along with the camera, landing right outside the entrance. The monster facade itself comes to life, and wow, they really weren't messing around about that symphony of hell being unleashed. That's pretty nice, actually. And that's the end of the tapes. Although there is still one loose end that gets tied up in a mid-credit scene, a Diet Phantasma commercial. Yep, it wound up on the shelves after all, despite its obvious dangers. And they even boast in the commercial that it is indeed made with real ghosts. 100% poltergeist extract. Yummy. Oh, and only 1 calorie. That same girl is back. She takes a sip, and a demonic growl says how yummy it tastes. Now available from the Octagon Company. That'll wrap it up for this evening explained for VHS Halloween. Which was your favorite segment of the bunch? Let me know down in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks for watching Foundflix. See you next time.
Saturday. These are 2 of the most exciting fighters in the UFC. Be there for the rematch. 10 years in the making for the baddest mother. I'm right here. Holloway versus Oliveira. Saturday on Paramount Plus.
Ever struggled to get a credit card when you have 4 to no credit? Then you need to download Self. By opening up a credit builder account, you can gain access to your own secured Self Visa credit card and build credit along the way. Unlike other traditional credit cards, there is no hard pull or score needed to get one. Not only does the Self card help you build credit history with all 3 credit bureaus, but you now have extra buying power across the U.S. where Visa credit cards are accepted. Join more than 4 million who have used Self to build credit and take charge of your credit score your way.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Foundflix. On this evening explained, we're checking out the new 4th entry in the Hell House series, Hell House Origins LLC, the Carmichael Manor. This time we follow internet sleuths that travel to the manor, the site of the brutal Carmichael family murders back in 1989.
Margo.
The team discover a terror that's lurked in the shadows long before Hell House LLC. Now, you might think based on the word origins right there in the title, or perhaps the fact that the Abaddon Hotel burned down along with the Gate to Hell being closed in Part 3 Lake of Fire, the Carmichael Manor would be a prequel. That's not the case, as it turns out, with this surprisingly being set after the original trilogy. I guess that evil wasn't so vanquished after all. Since the end of the trilogy did feel pretty definitive, Carmichael Manor does have to jump through some hoops to even validate its existence. However, it still works quite well as an extension of the series, and I'd say this actually is easily the best since the original. The story may be as convoluted and overly expository as usual, but where the series really shines is in creating effective, low-budget scares. Carmichael Manor does deliver in this aspect, and this is another worthwhile entry.
I just offered you the oranges. You said no, but you think you can just touch the
Origins, the Carmichael Manor, longest title ever, breaking down the story, including how the evil survived, the important origins that we do learn about the series, as well as explaining the ending that teases the series continuing in a new direction. Through a sort of faux documentary style, 2 experts find it difficult as to where to even start the tragic tale of the Carmichael Manor. The house itself is located deep in the woods, miles and miles of dirt roads deep to even reach the estate. The family was torn apart when one October born, Sister Catherine and the matriarch were both found brutally slain in their beds. The obvious suspect was the father, Arthur, but this theory doesn't quite stack up, as Arthur, as well as his 20-year-old son, Patrick, have been missing for the past 30 years, as though they simply just vanished into thin air, which actually isn't out of the ordinary when it comes to Hell House, though the Arthur theory remained, as there was only 1 set of footprints found in the snow leaving the house. He also gets more blame, as Patrick had lost the use of one of his arms after a car accident a year prior that killed his sister Margaret. Not long after the murders, rumors of the house being haunted started to swell. As we see through a vintage news report, a guy doing a story on the family is interrupted by a ghostly loud banging sound. The poor guy has to keep doing take after take, and you can tell that he just wants to get the heck out of there. Outside of the Carmichael family, very few were ever permitted to stay in the house, that is, until Margot Bentley's investigation, which is the main crux of our story. This guy Bradley co-created the hilarious names netsleuths.com with Margot, and together they have investigated several supposedly haunted locations. None of them actually were real until they encountered the Carmichael Manor. And as Bradley details, the footage that was recovered was rife with strange and inexplicable moments. He last heard from Margot on her way to the manor, and the last time they were ever heard was on a frantic 911 call the night before their deaths. We hear Rebecca sounding terrified, shrieking, "There's something in the house! It's not him!" Before the call cuts off, we then start the beginning of their journey in the days leading to their mysterious deaths. Along the way, they stop at a Greasy Spoon Diner and ask the dude about the house. He knows all about it and is bowled over that they actually got permission to stay there. Back when he was a teen, his buddies would party outside the house, but never went inside. Probably a good idea. That's why he's still alive. The couple's dynamic becomes quickly established as they get closer. Margot is overly excited and a bit obsessed with all this haunted murders kind of thing, while Rebecca is mostly just along for the ride. Do they really have to stay in the creepy house? Why not a hotel room, Rebecca wants to know. But as Margot counters, where's the fun in that, right? After getting briefly lost, they pull up to the manor and Becca is impressed. The family must be loaded. Margot pauses for a moment at the threshold before stepping inside. Big mistake! They meet with the caretaker, Donald, who gives him a tour and fills him in on some more history of the place. The house is still in the Carmichael family, but no one has lived here since the murders. And indeed, it has stayed almost exactly the same in appearance since 1989. He apologizes that they couldn't get everything set up due to the story of the house spreading. Companies aren't exactly chomping at the bit to come out here. Imagine that. Others want the house shut down to the public completely, but the compromise is shorter term stays like Margot. Heck, they could have even had 10 days if they wanted. But as he notes, no one stays more than a few nights.